Good morning, students. Hope all of you have got your midterm timetable, the portion of English, and also the question pattern for subjective type. Okay, let's proceed today's class. As you know, students, that the questions can be asked in between the lesson, so it is must for everyone to go thoroughly so that you all will be able to answer or attempt each questions. And also, students, while reading, please see and listen carefully to the words and spelling, as anything can be asked in your exam. So I would like to start reading first chapter 2.1, and the name of the chapter is The Cat Family of India. India is the only country in the world that has all the three main species of cats: the lion, the tiger, and the leopard. It also has all other smaller species of cats, including the domestic and wild cats. Though they differ in size and appearance, all belong to the same cat family. All members of the cat family have short, rounded heads and long face whiskers. They have sharp teeth and powerful claws. Their long tails help them in jumping, climbing, and balancing. Tigers are the biggest members of the cat family. Their average length is 9 to 10 feet. They have a yellowish fur with black strips. They hunt by night and lie still during the day. Tigers are very strong animals. One tiger can pull a dead buffalo, which even a group of people won't be able to move. The Indian tiger is also known as the Royal Bengal tiger. There was a time when tigers were found throughout India. Until the 1800s, we had thousands of tigers in our forests. But over the years, large numbers of tigers have been killed. People hunted them for sport and kept their heads as trophies. There was also a myth about tiger skins having magical powers of curing many diseases, so people killed them to have their skins. Urbanization and deforestation also took their toll on tigers. As a result, no tigers have been left in many parts of India. Now, in the bracket, it is given that, do you know the tiger is our national animal? Is that the way to treat our national animal? Just think and decide what we should do. Next paragraph. Lions are large wild cats. They are tawny colored. An adult male weighs about 180 kg and measures about 9 feet from nose to tail. The Indian lion differs from the African lion in that it has no mane. But unlike the African lion, it has a tuft of hair on its elbows, at the end of its tail, and on its belly. Lions usually live in groups called prides. A pride has one male, several females, and all their cubs. Lions often hunt as a team. The other species of wild cats love to hunt alone. At one time, lions were quite common throughout northern and central India. But now we have very few lions. They are found only in the Gir forest of Gujarat. Now next is about leopards. Leopards are a bit smaller than lions. They can live almost anywhere. They can feed on almost anything. They can hunt and kill any type of animal or bird. Those living in the vicinity of villages prey on dogs. Sometimes they turn into cattle lifters. Some leopards become Miniatures also. Leopards often hunt from trees, lying in wait on a branch. If they cannot eat all their catch at once, they haul the carcass high up into a tree. They do this to stop other animals from stealing it. Almost all species of wildcats are in danger of extinction. Large scale poaching and deforestation are the main causes. Our government has now banned the hunting of any bird or animal. It has created more than 400 national parks and sanctuaries to protect and preserve our flora and fauna. Do you know there are over 80 national parks in India? The top 5 of these are Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand, Kanha National Park in Madhya Pradesh, Ranthambore National Park in Rajasthan, Kaziranga National Park in Assam, and Gir National Park in Gujarat. Have you ever visited any of these? So students, here we have completed this reading of lesson 2.1. Now come to lesson 2.2. 2.2 lesson is Black Beauty. So here, first I would like to start with the first paragraph, that is, the topic is given My Early Home. And let's see what it is given here. The first place that I can remember well was a large pleasant meadow. It had a pond of clean water in it. Some shady trees leaned over the pond, and water lilies grew at the far end. Over the hedge on one side I could see our master's house. While I was young, I lived upon my mother's milk, as I could not eat grass. In the daytime, I ran by her side, and at night I lay down close by her. When it was hot, we used to stand by the pond in the shade of trees. When it was cold, we had a nice warm shed at one end of the meadow. As soon as I was old enough to eat grass, my mother returned to her work. In the bracket it is given, which was pulling our master's carriage. She used to go in the morning and come back in the evening. There were 6 young colts in the meadow besides me. One day we were galloping all together round and round the field. While galloping, the colts were frequently biting and kicking each other. When my mother saw this, she called me and said, I wish you to pay attention to what I am going to say to you. Your father has a great name in these parts. Your grandfather was a famous race horse, and your grandmother had a very sweet temper. And I think you have never seen me kick or bite. I hope you too will grow up gentle and good. Never learn bad ways. Always do your work with a spirit of goodwill. Never bite or kick even in play. Lift your feet up well when you trot. I have never forgotten my mother's advice. I know she was a wise old mare, and our master loved her dearly. Our master was a kind and gentle person. He gave us good food and good lodging. He spoke to us as kindly as he did to his own children. When my mother saw him at the gate, she would neigh with joy and trot up to him. Our master would pat and stroke her. Well, old pet, he would say, how is your little darky? Then he would give me a piece of bread which was very tasty. Sometimes he brought a big red carrot for my mother. My mother's name was Duchess. but he often called her pet. I was dull black, so he called me Darky. As I grew up, my black coat became very fine, soft, and bright. When I was 4, my master broke me in. I felt very terrible when a thick piece of steel was pushed between my teeth and tongue and held fast by leather straps. As a further part of my training, I was put in a field with sheep and cows. This field was next to a railway line. I shall never forget the first train that ran by. I thought it dreadful, but the cows went on eating quietly. They didn't even raise their head as the frightful thing went roaring past. Eventually, I found that this terrible creature never came into the field or did me any harm. Since then, I am as without fear at a railway station as in my own stable. The next is about new master. When I was about 5, I was sold to a man called Squire Gordon. My new master was as kind as the first one. There was a discussion between him and his wife as to what I should be called. 2 names, Ebony and Blackbird, were suggested. Then the wife thought of Black Beauty, and Squire Gordon liked it. Thus, I was given by my new name. Squire Gordon had 2 other horses, Ginger and Merrylegs. At first, Ginger didn't like me. She was a beautiful brown mare, but she used to bite and kick. The next day, when Ginger was out, Merrylegs said, "Don't be angry with Ginger. People were very cruel to her when she was young. They used to flog her. The unkind treatment gave her bad temper. But she works hard and you will soon begin to like her." And Merrylegs was right. Soon Ginger and I became good friends. We used to pull our master's carriage together. One day, my master harnessed me to his dog cart to take him to town. On our return trip, night had come and a storm had risen. I was terrified when a huge oak crashed right in front of us and blocked the road. We turned and went the other way along the riverside. We came to a narrow bridge, but when my feet touched the bridge, I felt sure there was something wrong. My master shouted to make me move. He used his whip also, but neither words nor whip could make me move. Then a man came out yelling that the bridge had given in the middle. I shall never forget my master's loving words of gratitude and the supper he gave me that night. Now the end of happy days. Then came a sad day. Our mistress was taken seriously ill and had to go away to God's home. Our happy days with her and our kind master were over. Ginger and I were sent to live with a friend of our master. It was a very sad moment for us when we were handed over to our new coachman. Our master came round to pat and speak to us for the last time. His voice sounded very sad. I held my face close to him. That was all I could do to say goodbye. And then he was gone. I have never seen him since. Unfortunately, our new mistress was very different from Squire Gordon's wife. She was a very proud and thoughtless woman. She made life quite hard for us. We often thought of the loving Squire Gordon and his gentle wife, how much they cared for our comfort and happiness. But now, All that seemed a sweet dream that had ended forever. So here students, we have completed this. Now let's come to lesson 2.3. So lesson 2.3 is what students? The man who killed my dog. Some people drive very recklessly. They hit someone while driving but never stop to help the victim. Such drivers are called hit and run drivers. Here you will read the story of a person whose dog named Wendy was killed by a hit and run driver. The man knew nothing about the driver, but he decided to write him a letter through a newspaper. Here is what he wrote in his letter. Dear Sir, I hope you were going somewhere important on Tuesday night. That was why you drove so fast down the road. Perhaps we would feel better if we could imagine that you were a doctor rushing somewhere to ease somebody's life, somebody's pain. We would not feel so bad if we could think that the life of our dog went to shorten someone's suffering. But sir, now we know too much about you to believe it. True, we know nothing of your name or address, but we know all about the form and content of your heart. All that we saw of you on that Tuesday night was your car's shadow and its jumping tail lights. You saw the dog and stepped on your brakes. You felt a thump, didn't you? You heard a yelp and then my wife's scream. But what excellent reflexes you have got! You heard both the yelp and the scream. Then at once you jumped on the accelerator and got out fast. Sir, you didn't bother to look back. So I will tell you what that thump was and who gave the yelp. It was our Wendy, a 6-month-old Basset puppy. Lovely white coat with brown and black markings. An aristocrat with 12 champions among her forebears. How she clowned and chased. How she loved people and children and the other dogs. I am sorry you didn't stick around to see the job you had done. Surely a dog dying by the side of the road is no pretty sight. So perhaps you thought it better to forget all about the thump and the yelp. But sir, in less than 2 seconds, you and that car of yours transformed a living thing into a lifeless lump. In less than 2 seconds, you transformed a thing that had been so beautiful and loving into something so dirty and ugly. I hope to God that when you hit my dog, you had for a moment the same feeling that we have known since. The same sick feeling that we have in our throat and down the stomach even now. And I hope to God that you will always have this feeling whenever you go speeding down a winding country road. Because next time some 8-year-old boy might be wobbling along on his first bicycle, or a sweet little one, while playing with her father, might suddenly run out of the gate and into the road, the way my puppy did. Or perhaps you will really be lucky next time also and only kill another dog and break the heart of another family. Here, the author name is given Richard Joseph. You have to remember this also. Richard Joseph is the author. Now here students, we have completed the reading of lesson 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3. Now whatever is left out, we will do in the next video. Thank you students.